about Tennessee. We'll take an opening statement from Coach Vitello and questions for the student athletes. Let them go and the questions for Coach. Coach, ready when you are.
Congrats to Arkansas and their fan base and everybody in here. It's you don't like losing. I think I've shown the worst side of that, but it is a little different when you have the amount of respect for the people that you do, and they'll go off and do their thing. But as it relates to us, in our place, be the first one to apologize to our fan base that's just as special, and that we're not going to Omaha. You can certainly go, but you're not going to be able to go as a fan. But looking back on this year, and if I'm remiss that we still have a team going, I apologize. But if you're a Vol fan, it was a pretty special year. You got to have all the office conversations, maybe even go all the way up to Columbus with football. I could go on and on with a bunch of other sports. You got one of the best men on the planet leading your basketball team, and you got to have all the fun that those guys provided. Women's basketball couldn't have been more exciting. You got to go watch the softball World Series in person if you wanted to, and I'm leaving plenty out, especially with tennis and swimming and diving and some other things that have gone on. But it can always be better, and no one will let you know more than SEC fans. But I think things are going in an outstanding direction, not just on our campus, but in the city. So it'll be up to us to continue to improve because mainly myself could have done better this year. But at the same time, even though we're a little short of winning today and pushing into a game 3, there's lots to take pride in for these guys to my left and then the other guys.
Questions for student athletes?
Hunter, I know it's fresh right now, but when you have some time to reflect, what has this last couple of years meant for you to be, who you are here at Tennessee?
Yeah, it's been everything I dreamed of growing up. This is always the place that I want to come play at, and fortunate to spend 5 years here, and I feel like we accomplished a lot in 5 years, and it's pretty exciting. Seeing the way this program's going. There's a lot of young, talented guys that are coming back, so I expect them to be, in a similar situation like this next year.
What did it mean to you to be able to pitch for this team this season and in the postseason after how last year went?
Yeah, absolutely everything. I mean, we kind of talked just about how much I wanted to get back for these guys and then also for him. And to be able to throw just in general this year, it's meant everything to me. And it's kind of hard to put into words right now, but like I said, it's just everything I've wanted to do. So.
For both you guys, it seemed like this team was kind of always close to breaking through and getting to maybe the potential. Why do you think it was that it was close but maybe never got to where you thought it could?
I'll speak for them. I mean, potential is a pretty vague word, and there's no reason that team on the field that we just played can't win the last game of the year. So I think if we fell short of our potential, that's kind of hard. Again, that's vague. I think where we fell short was in some series against the best teams in the country. But at the same time, the winning percentage, you want to break it down. I think we had the same amount of wins going into yesterday's game as they did. We had more wins than the team that won the league this year. So trust me, I got as high as standards as anybody. But my closing words, none of them were any good to the guys were, I hope they take pride in what they did this year and kind of what they put together. First of all, you should have fun, and you should make the workplace a good place. It's going to be a teammate a lot longer, and you're going to be a player. But also you should do some things out on the field. And our guys will remember today all day long, but I hope when they wake up tomorrow morning, they remember that last game at Lindsey Nelson Stadium that they won. There's not many teams that have been able to say that, that they played their last game in Lindsey Nelson Stadium and won it. And obviously I'm not talking about game 56.
AJ, just what was going through your mind out in the outfield as y'all were meeting for the final time, and kind of as you walked up here to the podium, what was just racing through your mind?
Really just, how grateful I am for the 5 years I put in here, and, all the hard work that was put in for 5 straight years with, I guess now hundreds of different teammates. Obviously some of the memories reflect back to, my freshman year, guys like Blade Tidwell, Gilbert. I can go, completely down the list, but just super grateful for the coaches and the support staff and all my teammates and obviously the fans, and the whole state of Tennessee, how much support they've given us.
Just for me, just how much I love and how much I'm gonna miss these guys and miss playing with them and miss competing with them and miss just hanging out with them in the locker room or doing things on a daily basis. For me, it was a lot of fun to come to the field every day and just love getting to compete with these guys. And yeah.
Hunter, just from your vantage point, what was so difficult about Arkansas's pitching this weekend? And AJ, what was your vantage point on the grand slam into the bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's one of the best pitching staffs I've seen for sure, especially for 5 years. And 5 years is a long time, but they just have a lot of guys with different looks. Obviously, good stuff, high velo, high spin rate, just a ton of different looks that are difficult for the hitters. And, it's a really good team. And, obviously, if you're not scoring some runs against them, they can score some runs as well. They got a really deep lineup 1 through 9.
Yeah, I thought I made a good pitch. It was spun well and carried a little bit more than I anticipated to spin. I kind of thought it was a fly out right off the bat and got out, and he just made a good swing on it. And 1 through 9, like he said, can do that, and they're really good. And so if you make a mistake, that stuff happens.
Any more questions for the student athletes? Buzz, congrats on a great year.
Answer, I mean, you always want to go back in time if it doesn't go your well. I think the matchup was Davalon for AJ. Then we went with the better breaking ball off their 2-hole hitter off of Loy. And then, I think it's a good matchup with how good AJ's been against lefties. But like you said, the guy just did a good job with 2 strikes. And, if it was tighter in some of the games, you'd say the story of this series with these guys would be balls going into that bullpen. And I don't know that we had any 3 different ones that were pop-ups, but as AJ said, or fly balls, but as AJ said, they were backspun. So unfortunate there.
Questions for Coach?
You mentioned matchups there in that 3rd inning, but prior to that, Liam Duell, I think he had 73 pitches on the day. What did you see from him in this start?
Just that Monday was a factor. So, and it doesn't have to be for future teams. I've been on some teams where it's not. It was a factor. And I think just in general. So it was also pretty memorable and pretty special. And I don't know that if we don't play on Monday, who's to say that, we win a game or beat Arkansas. Again, you can't go back in time or see into the future. But I think the way he was missing spots, in particular, leaving balls arm side to lefties. So, and a credit to Davalon. He's a guy, Frank and I even talked before the game. He put a hell of a swing on a guy that struck him out the last time we were here. Ours been pretty tough on guys, and so he caused everybody to scramble a little bit. He got Liam. Looking back on it, Liam's always going to tell you he's 1,000%. Let the guy die on his shield maybe, or go out on his shield. And who's to say he wouldn't have got him out? So I wish I had all those answers. We'd be in a different spot right now.
Assess what went wrong for the offense this weekend, and were there similarities to some of the issues this weekend compared to kind of back half of SEC play? A couple of those series y'all struggled.
Not really. I think if it had a common theme from what you're referring to, or just in my eyes, sitting in the dugout sometimes, and today, it's an emotional group, and when you take a punch in the gut, it can derail you a little bit. There's times where they did not allow that to happen. Wake Forest goes up 2-0. Is the most recent example. Texas goes up 4-0 or something similar. So it wasn't always the case, but if we had a weak spot, it was a little bit of that, in particular out of some offensive guys. But also Arkansas is really good. Root, I don't know what he said in here, but that's the best he's thrown. I think he climbed his best bullet by 2 miles an hour at least, and he was really good. And his, a tight game yesterday. Obviously, we could have swung better. I think today, bases loaded, nobody out. We'd like to do more damage than 1 run. But after that, I think dealing with the emotion of being down by a good margin and being down to your last game if you don't win was a factor.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Gibbler, the first guy Arkansas brought out of the pen. He had success today and against y'all in the regular season. Just curious, what makes him such a tough matchup?
He started throwing that slider more, especially to righties. Like they got a lot of guys with good stuff. So I mean, I got no qualms with it, but I don't have to like the word slide into, we never lost more than 2 games in a row this year. You know, again, I don't know how you judge what potential is. If you look at the top 25 in all college sports, they're not very good. But if you look at the top 25 in baseball preseason, they're terrible. And that's no one's fault. It's just very difficult to predict. I mean, our first base coach was on K-State's team that was basically a good slide away from going to Omaha. I think they were picked last that year in the Big 12. So, again, I'm not taking a knock at anybody, but if we were to fall short of a category or something like that, or you mentioned, basically Sunday games, what you're referring to, we didn't score enough runs. We were a little short of having a third starter and having a named closer and a couple other things. We had good arms, not crying about that. We got some guys that made some money for themselves this year, but they referring to hitting and Gibbler. I mean, he's good, but they got like 4 of those guys left-handed. McIntyre didn't even throw, and they didn't need him. So they got a bevy of good arms for sure, which made it difficult on our hitters. Like Gibbler, a lot of those guys are effective with good stuff, but also off-speed stuff that'll keep you a little off balance. So if we were to have a better year, I think we would have needed some guys to throw like that. But like I said, I enjoyed being around my guys, and maybe you can reflect on today. Maybe Jay's deals a little bit of symbolism there that the future is not bleak at the very least.
Tony, you intentionally walked Avalon, and I know you complimented him a second ago, but was that a bit of a gamble to load the bases for Aloy and then go from there?
I don't really think so. I mean, it was a quick decision we made there together in the corner. Yeah, I mean, he almost ruined the new office facility over there, so I don't think it was – I mean, he's kind of like Fisher. Maybe people will disagree with that, but if you're kind of watching wearing a different uniform, he does some things that would aggravate you because he's good and he's playing hard. I'd assume he's one of their tougher guys, and he's certainly talented. So, I think I wouldn't call it a risk. I mean, the guy behind him's pretty good too. So it's a hell of a lineup. Might be the most complete lineup in the conference. Can't speak for the country. Haven't seen everybody.
I guess, obviously, your history with this place. Anything with Coach Van Horn post-game?
Well, I was quick to talk to him. I told him I'd come back and meet him around. So he ran off, but on accident. I don't think he knew that's what I meant. So we're however many times we shook hands, we've had 2 bad come back around there deals. That's a joke. But I don't know. Hopefully I didn't look bad in front of my team. I miss some of those guys. So they deserve to win. Certainly would like to beat them. I think maybe we play them next year. But some of those guys said things they didn't have to say, and I think there's a mutual respect there. There's a coach in our league that anytime he sees you on the road always says, I know we're supposed to hate each other, but I have a lot of respect for you guys. And, depending on the day, you like it. Sometimes you don't like it, but I think it's well thought out. This league is insane, especially in our sport, what it'll do to you. And I think we all have a certain amount of respect for each other. But as you mentioned, I've got time here. And while I was here, I was just as big of a knucklehead as I am now, but I tried to work my ass off. And it's a good place to work.
You mentioned earlier feeling like there were areas you could have been better. Is there any one thought in your mind heading into the offseason where I know it's early to reflect, but anything
you got to go get guys. I mean, we were very fortunate with the quality, maybe not necessarily quantity, that ended up with Gavin and Fish and Liam and T. Frank. I think those were our 4 portal guys. And then, of course, we had the one kid sign in the draft. But last summer was tough. We weren't on our campus. And it just didn't work out as well as we would want to. And then, too, we're betting on some young guys. I mean, again, I think you saw what Newey can do there and what Jay can do. And last time we were here, Levi hit one out of the park. I could mention other guys, too. So, no, you always want to recruit better. So that's what's going to go on this summer. And then I think, when you have success, I don't think you loosen the reins or loosen things you do, but it's kind of, you can kind of get caught in a pattern. So maybe getting shook up a little bit this particular weekend and then not going as well as we wanted, which I think is kind of what you're alluding to, will motivate us to do some different things or maybe go back to our roots a little bit, but nothing crazy specific.
So you've been around this group, since late summer, coming in every single day, been the leader of a lot of good teams as well. What is going to stand out about this group that was maybe similar, different? What are you going to remember about this group?
Well, Fish will certainly gain attention or create a conversation right there. And it's because he's so comfortable in his own skin, like Simo was, and just a really fun kid to be around. I mean, if you don't like him, again, it's because you're not wearing the same uniform as him. And the way Liam battled and, the Vanderbilt game where Ensley basically won the game with yet another catch, those guys are warriors. So I think it was a team that after we had a lot of success last year, didn't let it get to their head. They got after it. We had a hot start, almost too hot, because it created some different conversations. But I think a team that is very unique. They had their own personality. They were a lot of fun to be around, and they certainly helped carry the torch for our program. And it's a long list. You guys can compile it. I kind of compiled my own in Hoover, what we had already accomplished to that date. And there was a lot, but sure would like to get those 50 wins, a little short of that. So maybe they're a group that helps motivate us for next year too.
Yeah, you talked about, missing some of the guys. I think you saw hug Bobby for a little bit longer. Just what'd you guys talk about? What was that moment like?
Personal. I'll hug the guy all day long, but he did it. He was trying to send a message. So again, if I'm wearing a different uniform, people aren't supposed to be nice to me. That's what makes the SEC fun. So, and I can, at this point, growing up watching all my dad's teams, and I've heard about everything. So, you pay your ticket, you should be able to say whatever you want to say. Scoreboard's going to hurt more than any words you can ever mention. But he was trying to send a message, if that makes sense. And that's because he's one of the best teammates I've ever been around. He's quirky as all hell. But he could really defend, and he made himself into a great hitter as well. But he'll forever be a phenomenal teammate, and that's all he was trying to do there. And then we shared some personal words. Very, very appreciated.
You mentioned, I saw you go back to Dave again right before you came in here. Can you characterize that conversation at all?
It was just friendly. Just friendly. I guess if there was something really juicy in there, it'd probably be too personal. And then if there was something of substance in there, I'd share it with you too. I think he's in a good spot. He's got 3 grandkids to keep him busy, but also keep some perspective. And he knows he's got a good team. And if there's a guy to lead him, it's him going into the next thing that they're doing. So just a lighthearted conversation and a mutual, appreciation and respect from my end.
Coach, congrats on a great year.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.